Where do I even start with this movie, man? Ava DuVernay got her big break with Selma, goes to the Oscars, all well and good, gets her key to the kingdom of Disney money, gets her big shot here with A Wrinkle in Time, of course based on a book from the 60s. I know a lot of my friends read growing up. I didn't read it, of course, and boy did we end up with something. So the story is there's this family named the Murphys, and the mom and the dad are both scientists, and the dad has built his career around trying to find these wrinkles in time that you can travel throughout the universe using the right frequency. And one day he disappears, and then 4 years later, on the anniversary of his disappearance, his daughter Meg and his son Charles Wallace team up with three beings that come out of nowhere, and they go off to find him. I don't even know where to. Okay, let's just start with the characters, because that's like baseline what we got to go with here. So the Guardians, Miss Witch, Miss Who, Miss What's It. But first of all, we don't really know what they are. They just say that they're good people that help out those in need, and they have unspecified powers that would be cool to know more about, but we don't really get that. So we have Miss What's It, who is played by Reese Witherspoon, who's by far my favorite out of the three. She gets the most screen time. I think those two are kind of connected, but even so, she's not on screen all that much, and all three of them disappear completely from the third act of the film. Really, each one of them are defined by like a quirk, and so Reese Witherspoon's quirk is she's like the upbeat, always happy, like bouncing around like, woo, 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 look at this, look at that, look at that. And it kind of works for matching up with kind of the type of characters Reese Witherspoon often plays, but really like that's just what she does. She's just happy. But she's also the only one out of the three that we get a glimpse how they exist outside of like helping these kids, because we see her have like kind of a romantic interest, which was very interesting, but it was there for like 2 seconds, then it was gone forever. So it's like, oh no, that was nice. So then we have Miss Who is played by Mindy Kaling, who's in the film for about 5 minutes tops. Probably not even that. She's just a complete throwaway. Well, I have no idea who she is, what she does, what's her purpose in this film. She's supposed to be like the wise one who all she can do is talk in quotes from Shakespeare, Gandhi, and then they throw in one from Outcast. It's like, okay, that's interesting, but this is a kid's movie, and a 6-year-old's not gonna know who Outcast is. Like, do you remember Andre 3000? No. Yeah, she doesn't help the plot at all. She doesn't offer any helpful advice. She doesn't help anyone's character develop. There's no reason for her to be in the film outside of the fact that she's in the book. Ugh. And then finally we have Miss Witch, who is Oprah, and for her they're just like, yeah, she's like the powerful one because she's Oprah. But she doesn't actually feel powerful. Nothing she says is like insightful and like, yeah, I can get behind that, and inspiring. There's like, yeah, we're just gonna make her taller than all the other ones because that means she's strong and stuff. She's the one that they're like over-explain everything, and this movie does a lot of explaining. I mean, there was one scene where the two kids, Calvin and Meg, were like running toward the wall. And they're like, there's the wall. I know the wall's there because I can see it with my eyes. You don't have to tell me because it's right there. Oh, there were like more than enough moments of that where they said something. It's like, I know because A, you just did it, and B, you already told me like 2 other times. I know they're geared at kids on that, but I mean, come on. It was ridiculous how often it was just like, I know. Yeah, back to Oprah. I mean, it was really just predicated on the fact that she was Oprah, so she's the strong one, which is fine. But again, like, I don't know, do a lot of younger kids really recognize Oprah as Oprah? I don't know. And then we gotta get to the kids, man. And it's always hard with child actors because they're kids, and I'm sure that they're really doing their best. I'm sure everyone was doing their best. I'm not doubting that. But Charles Wallace, man, he just bugged me. I don't know, during the first half of the film, I don't really know what it was. I think some of it was just like his voice was kind of high-pitched, and some of the lines he said, I was just like, what? And he's also like incredibly smart for how young he is. Like he seems like he's like 6 or 7, which may have just been a little off-putting, but I think that was probably just me. The one thing that did bug me is there were 3 or 4 times where like, they'd be walking along and Charles Wallace would be like, so and such, Miss Witch, and Meg would be like, who's Miss Witch? And he'd be like, well, you don't need to know that right now. And I'm like, why can't you just give us the information? So it was just like shutting it down just so that there could be more intrigue in the plot going forward. And I was just frustrated. The big thing is at the end of the film, his character takes a big turn towards one side, and it was very hard for me to buy into him on that level as that character. And there was a lot of close-ups of him right in his face, and I was just like, what are you going for here? And then Calvin, it's 2 characters now. This character does not need to be in the film at all. At all. Again, does not add anything to the plot. His sole purpose is to just be the romantic interest for Meg. He's a terrible romantic interest. He barely talks. There's like no banter. All that happens is he'll come in like every 20 minutes. Hey Meg, you have nice hair. Dude, come on, really? Her dad has been missing for 4 years. You're on the brink of finding him. So much stuff is going on. You got a giant Oprah in your backyard? And you'd be like, nice hair. He was always just like even keeled, and it was, oh my God, oh. But Meg, and she's pretty interesting. It feels like almost her entire character is built on the fact that she doesn't like herself very much, but she's still alright. And again, the actress does a fine job, but with those extreme close-ups, there were some times where it was like, again, giant Oprah in your backyard. She's like, I feel like I might react a little bit more than that, but I've never had a giant Oprah in my backyard, so I don't know. Zach Galifianakis, Michael Pena, Chris Pine, great. In the movie, like combined, probably like 15 minutes. They have these big names and they don't do anything with them, and it's so frustrating. But on a Chris Pine note, his relationship with Meg and their relationship together is probably like one of the strongest points in the film. They do a great job of building that chemistry between them and showing how strong that relationship was, which does help in kind of pulling the audience along in believing that, yeah, it's been 4 years, but Meg still does care about this because her relationship with her father was that strong and that much a part of her life. And the plot and everything just felt so disconnected from each other. They start off in this planet. And so they're just a huge field, and there's flowers that can communicate using colors. They talk to Reese Witherspoon, and it actually looked really cool. And this was one of the coolest parts in the film. It was visually very interesting. And then there's a random moment where Reese Witherspoon strips, and all of a sudden she's a giant leaf with a head, and she takes the kids and they're flying around the planet. I'm like, what? I can't explain that at all. It happens once, never comes up again, never see it again. I'm like, I want to know. Turn it into a what? But not only does that never come again, nothing that happens on that planet ever comes up again. They're like, oh, Chris Pine's not here. You know, off to the next place so that we can see if we can find another clue. And that next place, not visually interesting at all. It's just like a cave. And we got Zach Galifianakis coming in. He was pretty funny in the limited time we see him. And then he's just gone. He never comes up again in the film. That planet never comes up again. And it was just, everything was very isolated and disconnected. They start off with visually interesting stuff, and then just gets progressively like, and transitioning between these places, they throw in these random pop songs. I don't even know if I could call them pop, but it's just like, here's the songs that are on the soundtrack, we gotta fit them in the movie somewhere, and they just put them in these places. And every single time that a song with words came up, tore me out of the film. And then there was one part where Charles Wallace just like disappears for like 15 minutes, and then he comes back. Calvin, Meg are like, hey Charles Wallace, how did he get on the... Yeah, I feel like I came up with so many things that really bugged me about this film, but it's not like I wanted to jump off a bridge at the end of this thing, okay? I mean, there were parts here and there that were enjoyable, and I was able to get through to each of those moments, then kind of each of those like a booster to kind of get to the next part. I do want to give it credit, because for a kids film, at least the kids are actually heroes of the film, and it delivers a good message, and it doesn't rely on over-the-top physical humor and potty jokes. It's just, I feel like it tried to do the right thing in so many ways, but it wasn't good.